Welcome to The Secret Buried in Time. Tonight, we uncover one of America's greatest unsolved mysteries, the man who disappeared into the sky and left behind nothing but questions. It was November 24th, 1971, a cold, gray afternoon before Thanksgiving. A quiet man, wearing a black suit and dark sunglasses, walked into Portland International Airport. He carried a small black briefcase and spoke with calm authority. A few hours later, he would jump from a flying airplane with $200,000 and vanish forever. His name, or the name he gave, was D.B. Cooper. 50 years later, his story still echoes through time. It sounds like fiction, but every detail is true. Let's go back to the day when a man rewrote history with nothing but nerve, precision, and mystery. It was a busy day at the Portland airport. Families, businessmen, and travelers hurried to catch their flights before the holiday. Among them stood a man in his mid-40s, black suit, white shirt, black tie, and dark sunglasses. Calm, polite, unassuming. He walked to the counter of Northwest Orient Airlines and paid $20 in cash for a one-way ticket to Seattle. He wrote down the name Dan Cooper. No one suspected anything unusual. At 2:50 p.m., Flight 305, a Boeing 727, took off from Portland bound for Seattle. On board were 36 passengers and 6 crew members. Cooper sat quietly in seat 18C. He lit a cigarette, ordered a bourbon and soda, and watched the clouds outside. A few minutes later, he handed a folded note to flight attendant Florence Schaffner. She slipped it into her purse without looking. She thought he was flirting. Cooper leaned slightly toward her and whispered, "Miss, you'd better read that note. I have a bomb." She froze. Slowly, she opened the note. It read, "I have a bomb in my briefcase. Sit next to me." When she sat down, Cooper calmly opened the briefcase just enough for her to see red cylinders, wires, and a battery. Then, in a perfectly steady voice, he said, "I want $200,000 in cash, 4 parachutes, 2 primary, 2 reserve, and a fuel truck ready in Seattle to refuel the plane. No tricks, no funny business, or I'll do the job." The message was relayed to the cockpit. The captain contacted air traffic control, and soon the FBI, police, and airline executives were all on alert. Yet in the cabin, everything remained calm. Passengers were told there was a small mechanical delay. Cooper sat quietly, smoked another cigarette, and chatted politely with the crew. "Don't worry, miss," he said softly. "Everything's going to be just fine." As the plane circled Seattle for nearly 2 hours, the authorities gathered the ransom. 10,000 $20 bills, carefully recorded by serial number. By 5:56 p.m., the money and parachutes were ready. The plane landed quietly on a dimly lit runway, far from the main terminal. A man approached with 2 small bags, one filled with cash, the other with parachutes. Cooper peered out the window, nodded, and smiled faintly. He then gave his next order, "Let the passengers go." 36 passengers and 1 flight attendant disembarked. Only 5 people remained on board: the pilot, co-pilot, flight engineer, and 2 attendants. Cooper now instructed, "We're heading to Mexico City. Maintain a speed below 200 knots, fly under 10,000 feet, landing gear down, and keep the cabin unpressurized. The pilot told him they'd need to refuel in Reno, Nevada. Cooper agreed without hesitation. Calm, cold, in control. At 7:40 p.m., Flight 305 took off again. Outside, the storm raged. Thunder, rain, heavy winds. Inside, Cooper opened the bag of money, checked the bills, and examined the parachutes. He loosened his tie, unbuttoned his collar, and turned to the flight attendant, Tina Mucklow. He said, "Show me how to open the rear stairs." She hesitated. He smiled gently. "It's going to get rough now, miss. You'd better go to the cockpit." She did. Cooper drew the curtain behind him. At exactly 8:13 p.m., a sudden jolt shook the plane. A warning light blinked in the cockpit. Aft stairs open. The crew felt the pressure shift. The captain turned to his co-pilot and whispered, "He's gone." Into the black, stormy sky, through freezing rain and roaring winds, D.B. Cooper jumped and disappeared forever. At 10:15 p.m., the plane landed safely in Reno, Nevada. FBI agents rushed aboard, weapons drawn. Cooper was gone. All that remained was his black clip-on tie, a mother-of-pearl tie pin, and a few cigarette butts. The next morning began one of the largest manhunts in U.S. history. Operation Norjack, short for Northwest Hijacking. FBI agents, soldiers, helicopters, and even tracking dogs searched vast areas of Washington's wilderness. Forests, mountains, rivers, every inch was combed, but no parachute, no body, no trace. Months turned into years. Hundreds of suspects were questioned. Former pilots, paratroopers, criminals, and even ordinary citizens. No one matched perfectly. Some claimed Cooper died that night, lost in the storm. Others believed he survived, escaping into the woods, vanishing into a new life with a new name. Then, in 1980, a young boy named Brian Ingram was playing on the banks of the Columbia River, nearly 20 miles from the suspected drop zone. Buried in the sand, he found 3 bundles of decaying $20 bills, totaling $5,800. When the FBI matched the serial numbers, they confirmed it was Cooper's ransom money. But how did it get there? Carried by the river? Hidden deliberately? The mystery only deepened. Over the decades, countless theories emerged. Some said Cooper was a Vietnam veteran, trained, disciplined, fearless. Others thought he was an airline insider who knew the Boeing 727's secret rear staircase. And a few claimed Cooper survived, moved abroad, and lived out his days quietly, watching his own legend grow. But the FBI believed survival was nearly impossible. The jump occurred in a freezing storm, in total darkness, over dense wilderness with no visibility and no proper gear. In 2016, after 45 years, the FBI officially closed the case, unsolved. No conclusive evidence, no identified suspect, only a legend. Today, D.B. Cooper's name lives on, not just as a criminal, but as a symbol of the unknown. A man who challenged gravity, law, and logic, and perhaps won. Maybe he died that night, or maybe he walked away, free, fading into history. No one knows for sure, but the question still lingers in the sky. Who was D.B. Cooper? This was The Secret Buried in Time. If you enjoyed diving into one of history's greatest unsolved mysteries, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Because sometimes the truth isn't lost, it's just waiting to be uncovered. See you in the next episode, where time itself reveals another secret buried deep in history.